What is the first step in the home buying process? Well, the first step is probably to get pre-approved with a loan person, or at least talk to a loan officer so you know what you're looking at, what's good for your budget, and what you can afford. I would say that's it.
I agree. First step in the home buying process is definitely get pre-approved or start working through your financing. Before that, it's really just building rapport with an agent like us and making sure that we're going to work together well. But yeah, first real step is find a lender that you like and you trust. We'll provide you with one or some options and start working on getting pre-approved.
How much money do you need to buy a house? Well, I often joke it's less than getting into an apartment usually. So it is sort of a misconception that you need 20% down. That was the old rule of thumb. But there's many programs that you can use if you don't have 20% down. We would usually tell people it's about 3.5% is the minimum, but it can even be a little bit less depending on the circumstances, income levels, and all of that. So it's pretty low. Closing cost is about 2% of how much you borrow. So if you're borrowing $300,000 to buy a home, then that's $6,000 plus your down payment. So that's just an easy answer. It can vary.
A home inspection, among a few other inspections, is something that we advise our buyer clients do within their inspection period, which is going to be a part of their terms on their contract. Home inspection will hire a third-party company to come poke around in the house. They're not necessarily professionals on a specific thing like the AC or the roof or the foundation, but it's more of a blanket inspection. We're going to make sure the faucets aren't leaking. We're going to make sure all the major systems work. If there's something wrong with it, they don't dive in heavily, but they let you know it's not working and to, get a professional on that specific thing. But it's going to be your blanket inspection for the house as a whole. Yes, you absolutely can back out because something on the home inspection is not to your liking. That's what your contingencies are for. And if somebody's not feeling comfortable after something comes up on their home inspection, we advise them if they want to back out, absolutely do it. If you're not comfortable, then do as you please, and we'll find you another one that's good.
How to choose a neighborhood? Well, gosh, that is so subjective. And so I often joke that most people want to live where they live. So oftentimes neighborhood you grew up in or that you're familiar with or you went to school, oftentimes people, want to be there. That's what they're used to. But sometimes you can determine what does a good neighborhood mean to you. We represent all different classes of neighborhoods, I guess, if you want to say. So it just depends on what you're looking for. If you want to be able to walk to the grocery store without having to use a car, or if you want to have, land for multiple animals or dogs or pets or whatever. So it really depends on the certain person's parameters. To have a winning offer in a competitive market, it's really in the planning process. Of course, we are a big part of that because most people aren't buying and selling homes, more than every 5-7 years or something. So we can help you craft an offer or a presentation. We call it like a package that we present to the sellers, agents, and to the seller themselves that gives them a comfort level that they're getting what they need, their price, and that we're going to perform, so they say. So we're going to be able to meet all the requirements of a loan and inspections and be able to successfully close the transaction. And that might include some price considerations. Sometimes it's not all price. If you have a really strong package and you're somewhat competitive with a price that's a little bit more, they may select you just because they're more confident that there is not going to be any problems as we go.
How does your agent get paid? Well, if you are a buyer, after a class action lawsuit, things have changed a little bit. The rules are a little bit new. So now, if you're a buyer, you're going to have a buyer-broker agreement with the agent that you choose to work with. And on that document, where we are contractually obliged to work together for a period of time or for specific properties or specific areas, on that document, it's going to have your buyer agent's commission percentage. 99% of the time, that commission percentage is going to come out of the proceeds of the sale. It's going to be paid out of the seller's proceeds. The buyer can pay it if the seller refuses to, or if you're feeling generous that day, but most of the time, the buyer agent commission is paid out of the proceeds of the seller's sale, and it's agreed upon between buyer and buyer's agent, and can be used as a negotiation tactic when you're writing offers. So maybe if I have 2.5%, which is industry standard on our buyer broker agreement, and the seller says, I'll take your offer, but your agent has to take 2, I'll take 2. It's another point of negotiation now. But to answer the question, it's paid primarily out of the proceeds of a sale. It's the same for the seller. The seller and the seller's agent are going to have an agreement for a commission percentage. That commission percentage is going to come out of the proceeds of the seller's sale. Should you sell your home before buying a new one? I think it depends on if you can afford to carry both. You can write offers that are contingent on you selling your property. There's a few ways to go about that. I think it's easier to sell a property when nobody's in it. So if you've purchased a new one, it's going to make it easier for us to sell your old one now that it's vacant. But that's obviously only if it's feasible for you, usually financially feasible for you to carry these 2 properties until the first one sells. So it's up to whatever you can handle. We can do it both ways. We've done it both ways many times. So it's really up to you and what works the best for you.
The buying process, once you're in a contract with someone, is usually 30 days from the time that you have an acceptance on your offer and by the time you close escrow and get to move in. And then prior to that, it just depends on the market and what you're looking for. But usually a month or so. Sometimes you just see the perfect house right away, and sometimes it's a bit more of a process to kind of sort through all the different options until you find the right house.
How long will it take to sell your home? I think we really definitely want to try and do it inside of average market times for your local area. Ideally less. We spend money on our listings. We go for a big pop, a big splash, and we really try and get things moving. We try and present a good presentation. If you have something that's maybe a little bit more niche, maybe you're on a large amount of acreage, or maybe you are a multi-million dollar property, or you have something that's special about it, usually it's a little bit slower because we're looking for a little bit of a more specific buyer. And if you have something that's widely accepted and a great price in a hot market, it's quicker. But the average market times are pretty accurate, and we try and absolutely meet or beat that. It's within a month or 2 in most places, in most markets. We can get a home sold within 60 days. Sometimes it's considerably faster. Ideally, it's tomorrow for all cash, which has happened before. But
So pricing is super important when you're considering selling your home, and that's where a professional really can help you. There's automated things online you can see that are just sort of a computer-generated comparison of what your house might be worth. But as professionals that work in your neighborhoods, we know them intimately, and what we think might be special or different about your home that can really maybe appreciate the value a bit that might not be so apparent on just raw data like square footage and age. So really, the most important thing is consulting with a professional so that we can analyze it and determine what a fair market value might be for the house at the time.
What repairs should you make before selling your home? I think that cosmetics always go a long way. Paint, floor, countertops, things not inside of the walls or not on the roof or under the foundation, but make the place look nice, make it pop. The goal is to have the best presentation possible as quickly as possible in person and online. So do things that are going to help you do that. Usually it's paint, floors, maybe cabinets and countertops if you want to stretch it a little bit. And then once we get into the major systems, we're talking AC, roof, foundation, the larger things that are going to cost a lot of money. It's really about return on investment. a lot of times if you put a $25,000 AC system into your house, you might not get $25,000 out of it. But if your AC isn't working, of course, it's going to be a tough sell. So, I mean, it just depends on what you've got, what you're trying to get out of it. But I would say cosmetics for sure go a really long way. So I would start there.
We like to, when we market a home, we're obviously trying to attract the most buyers. So we invest heavily in our photography and professional photography, which is so important because that's where most home buyers start, is looking online at the photos. And we do a really big splash on the social media presentation. So it's going out not just for our local people to see, but whoever might be, looking to relocate to your area or from different parts of the country. We also invest heavily in our print materials, that they're quality and that they are, really warrant a really clear representation of your property, because we feel like it is one of your most important investments, and we want to present it in that fashion to any prospective buyers. So we have an entire package, and it's in a written form, and then we have a minimum standard that we always adhere to when we're marketing our properties for our clients.
How much does it cost to sell a property? It's a great question because people sometimes don't realize that it's not free to sell your house like many things. Just at a base level, for the most part, if you're selling, you're going to pay the commission for the buyer's agent and the seller agent. Yes, it's all negotiable, and yes, things have been changing lately, but 99.9% of the time you're going to pay that. It's going to be around 5% of the sales price, usually 2.5 for one side and 2.5 for the other side. And then you're going to have miscellaneous wonderful taxes and transfer fees and title and escrow fees for the other professionals that are working on your transaction. It's not just both agents. You have other people in the background that are doing things that are compensated as well. It's somewhere in the neighborhood of 1% to 2% of the sale price. I go on the high side for most things, so you're happy when it's less, so call it 2%. So somewhere around 7% of the sales price of your home is what's going to come out of your pocket. We'll run you a net sheet at these numbers. It's all an estimate. Things change often, and maybe you have to do some sort of repairs or make some sort of concessions or negotiations through escrow. So things change, but call it around 7% of your sales price is about what you're going to have to pay to sell.
On closing day, everything has pretty much already been done. So once you've signed your paperwork, usually a couple days before, and the loan is funded from your lender if you're not paying cash, then when it's recorded at the county, we get a notification from the title company, and then we meet you there, and then we give you the keys, and it's a pretty exciting time for most buyers, closing day.
Do you really need to stage your home? No, you don't absolutely need to stage your home. I most certainly would. I would highly recommend that you do so. It's if it doesn't get you more money, which it usually does, it's going to make your home sell faster. And if that's your goal, I would stage it. Unless, of course, if you have fantastic taste and it is completely, absolutely spotless in there and it's light and bright and it's great, maybe we don't need to stage it. But if there's some things that need to be moved around, you don't always need a full staging job. But I would just make sure that it shows in its best light. It's a part of what we do as professionals. We understand what the masses are looking for. We understand how to get people into these properties and get them sold. So maybe you don't need a full staging job, but staging adjacent, make it appealing to the masses. Sometimes it's all the furniture. Sometimes it's just moving things, removing things, cleaning up. So in some way, shape, or form, yes, you should stage your property to get it sold for the highest price possible and as quickly as possible. How do we handle showings and open houses? For showings, obviously every property that we have listed is on Lockbox. We use a service called Showing Time, and it lets us see who opens that lockbox every single time. So if a buyer has a realtor, they need to open that lockbox. As soon as it's opened, we see when, who, how, So we make sure to keep up on who's coming through your property. We don't let people just wander around willy-nilly. And we make sure that there's at least a realtor present at all times. If there's a buyer that doesn't have a realtor, we are going to be present there. And if it's what the seller wants, we can be present at all showings. We've done that many times as well. So we make sure that there's professionals accompanying potential buyers. Again, people don't just get to wander around whenever they like. For open houses, we try and do a really big splash. We never have one person in an open house. It's always multiple people. We have a table with snacks and music and drinks, and our beautiful print marketing is part of our package. And we try and have a big splash and shake everybody's hand and tell people about the upgrades and the story. And, really just have a great presentation and make people feel welcome and accepted in your property and feel like this is a place that they can spend, maybe the rest of their lives in. So open houses, we really try and do a really good job on. We believe in them heavily. We've sold many houses from open houses. We think they're great.
What happens when we receive an offer? When we receive an offer, I always say I'm the eyes and ears of my clients. So it gets forwarded, of course, to the seller so that they can start to review it and take a look at it. And typically we will set up an appointment, a meeting with our client so we can go over all the details, not only the price and, the financial portion, but also the other terms of the offer. We will verify information that's on the offer for our seller's benefit. So we make sure that maybe the financials, we would reach out to whoever is helping them, the lender or the banker, so that we can verify with a third party that these are accurate and, real numbers. And we go through quite a process, and it's important that we know everything about that offer and as much as we can find out about that buyer so that our seller can make an educated decision on how they want to respond.
Why is your property's assessed value less than your market value? It's pretty simple. If you take out all the big pieces of it, your property is only assessed for taxes in a few different ways. One is on a sale. If your property changes hands, the state's going to come, or the government or whatever entity is going to come out and assess its value. If you do large additions that require large amounts of permitting, they're going to come reassess your value as well. And your assessed value can only go up by a certain amount every single year. I believe it is 2%. So in California, usually home market values are going up more than 2% a year on average. So your assessed value is always going to lag behind that because it's capped. Can you sell your home without a realtor? Absolutely. Yes, you can. Most of the documentation is public. You can get all the contracts yourself. I've had people ask me this before, actually, and I equate it almost to hiring a lawyer, right? If I needed to do something, if I needed to be in a lawsuit or whatnot, I could spend my afternoons and evenings 7 days a week learning legal jargon, but the opportunity cost of me doing that is quite large. Why would I spend all my time trying to be a lawyer when I am a realtor? So most people don't have the time to understand the contracts. We've built a career on learning this field and learning how to sell houses, not only in a seamless and speedy way, but in a successful way. It's not free. It's incredibly time consuming. So yeah, absolutely. You can sell your house without a realtor. I encourage you to give it a shot. I don't think it's going to save you as much money as you think it's going to. It's going to be a huge, huge headache. And I think that there is something to be said about buyers and sellers are inherently looking for opposite things. The buyer wants to get something for as cheap as possible, and the seller wants to sell the same thing for as much money as possible. So you're going to butt heads, and it's nice to have somebody in the middle of that. So the short answer is yes. The long answer is you probably shouldn't give it a shot. Just use a realtor. It'll save you the headache and the time and the money.